For 15 years, every American president refused to do one thing. Every chairman of the Joint Chiefs, every Secretary of Defense, every Pentagon strategist who briefed the White House said the same thing behind closed doors. Do not send special forces into Iran. It didn't matter who was president. George W. Bush heard it after Iraq spiraled. Barack Obama heard it during the JCPOA negotiations. Donald Trump heard it in his first term when Qasem Soleimani was killed by a drone, not by boots on the ground. The Pentagon's position never changed. Iran is not Syria. It's 4 times the size. It has terrain that swallows expeditionary forces. Its uranium enrichment facilities are buried under 300 feet of mountain rock at Fordow. And most critically, it has the ability to turn any captured American operator into a years-long hostage crisis that destroys an administration. That calculation just changed. According to Fox News reporting from Tel Aviv, Trump is now actively weighing a special forces mission to seize Iran's enriched uranium, backed by hypersonic missiles and a $25 billion war that has 72 hours until the war powers resolution deadline. Let me break it all down. Here's the sequence. At approximately 11:30 a.m. Eastern on Wednesday, Fox News correspondent Brian Lanus reported live from Tel Aviv that President Trump is actively reviewing new military options against Iran. The options include deploying hypersonic missile platforms into the Persian Gulf and seizing physical control over portions of the Strait of Hormuz. This was not a hypothetical Pentagon white paper. This was a live policy review reported by Fox News with named correspondents and confirmed by Trump's own statements about there never being a deal unless Iran surrenders its enriched uranium stockpile. Now, the Pentagon had already warned the White House that any operation crossing into Iranian territory would trigger a chain of escalations. That warning? It just got cashed in. Hypersonic deployment packages are now being staged through CENTCOM. Special Operations Command is running tabletop exercises on uranium recovery scenarios, and Hegseth is preparing for the War Powers Resolution deadline that hits Friday at midnight. But here's where it gets bigger than a single mission. See, Trump didn't just authorize military planning. There are confirmed Fox News reports of Senator John Kennedy publicly declaring on Capitol Hill that the regime has no military left. Pete Hegseth testifying before the Senate that the war has already cost $25 billion in 90 days. Iranian state media openly mocking U.S. war strategy on the same afternoon Trump approved new options. A 60-day war powers resolution clock that expires Friday and forces congressional authorization or withdrawal. Let that sink in. A 15-year Pentagon doctrine abandoned. A 60-day constitutional deadline hours away from triggering. And the White House just signaled, through Fox News reporting in Tel Aviv, that special forces operations are now on the table. This isn't a sanctions standoff anymore. This is the largest American ground operation calculation since Iraq 2003. Now, you might be asking, why would Trump risk a special forces mission when Senator Kennedy says Iran has already lost? Why escalate when the blockade is, according to Sean Hannity on Hannity, sending panic up through Iran's ranks? Why deploy hypersonics when sanctions are already choking the Iranian economy? Because Trump isn't fighting to defeat Iran's military. Trump is fighting to physically remove the enriched uranium before Tehran can weaponize it. When the Pentagon assessed Iran's stockpile last quarter, and understand this assessment was confirmed in Hegseth's classified Senate briefing, the analysis showed enrichment had crossed 84% purity at Fordow. That's a single technical step from weapons-grade material. The IAEA immediately suspended its monitoring program, declaring Iran non-cooperative. So when Trump tells reporters there will never be a deal unless Iran abandons its nuclear ambitions, that tells you everything. The diplomatic track is dead. The sanctions track has hit its ceiling, and Trump has decided this is his Operation Eagle Claw moment. Except this time, the special forces are coming back with the uranium, not empty-handed from a desert crash site. Now here's the part no one in Washington wants to talk about. Trump told reporters earlier this year that the Iran operation would be decisive and contained, wrapped in 30 to 60 days at minimum cost. But according to Hegseth's own Senate testimony delivered yesterday, the current campaign has already burned $25 billion across 90 days, with no end state defined and no congressional authorization in place. That's a 50% timeline overrun and a $25 billion price tag against a contained operation that was supposed to cost a fraction of that. And already, on day 87 of the campaign, here's what's happened. First, Iran openly mocked U.S. war strategy on state television, broadcasting clips of Trump's "never a deal" statement, with subtitled commentary calling it American Panic. Fox News confirmed this in its 1 p.m. Eastern report. Second, the war powers resolution clock hits Friday, forcing either congressional authorization or military withdrawal, with Hegseth grilled in heated Pentagon budget hearings, according to special reports' all-star panel coverage. Third, the Hegseth-Khanna clash on Capitol Hill, covered by Fox News at night, exposed deep democratic resistance to expanding the war, meaning any special forces mission requires either bipartisan authorization or unilateral executive action. Fourth, Representative Jason Crow accused Hegseth of going behind the president's back, prompting Hegseth to dismiss it as a cute waste of 5 minutes, exposing internal coordination problems at the highest level. The Wall Street Journal and Fox News are both reporting that senior Pentagon planners are concerned about the special forces option, specifically because Iran's terrain, command structure, and proximity to Russian and Chinese support lines make it the worst possible operational environment. They're losing the political timeline at home and losing operational secrecy abroad, and the administration simply can't extend the war past Friday without congressional buy-in. This was supposed to be a limited campaign with maximum impact. That's the exact phrase Pete Hegseth used with the Senate Armed Services Committee in his February briefing. But Iran turned it into a $25 billion forever war that now requires special forces to finish. Let's zoom out because this stopped being a sanctions enforcement operation about 3 weeks ago. Israel has officially aligned with the special forces option, with the IDF positioning Sayeret Matkal commando units as backup support for any American uranium recovery mission. Brian Yanos reported live from Tel Aviv that Israeli military coordination cells are now embedded with U.S. Central Command planning teams. China is moving its Type 052D destroyer Nanchang and a Type 055 cruiser into the Gulf of Oman. And Foreign Ministry spokesperson Lin Jian just declared Beijing will not accept American Special Forces operations on Iranian soil. That's 2 nuclear-armed regional powers now on opposite sides of the Iran calculation. 2. And Russia just authorized expanded intelligence sharing with Tehran, including real-time satellite tracking of U.S. naval movements. The European Union restricted overflight rights for American strike packages transiting through southern Europe. Over 4,200 commercial flights have been canceled across 11 Gulf airports since the blockade entered its current phase. Boeing suspended commercial deliveries to Middle Eastern carriers until at least June 30th. The European Central Bank is scrambling to figure out Eurozone energy procurement, now that both Iranian crude and Qatari LNG transit are compromised. Brent crude just touched $108.40 per barrel and climbing, the highest level since the 2022 Ukraine invasion. Gold spiked to $4,120 per ounce, up 19% in 30 days. The Israeli shekel jumped to 4.18 against the dollar, a sign that capital is fleeing emerging market exposure to Middle Eastern military risk at speed. And we're on day 87. Here's what most coverage is missing. Iran knows it can't win this war militarily. The math doesn't work. You're facing 3 U.S. carrier strike groups in the region, including the USS Gerald R. Ford, the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower, and the USS Abraham Lincoln. You're facing 14 Aegis-equipped destroyers operating under CENTCOM. You're facing 280 fifth-generation fighter aircraft, including F-35As, F-22 Raptors, and B-2 Spirit bombers staged at Diego Garcia. That's an unwinnable equation. But Iran isn't trying to win the conventional military fight. Iran is trying to make the Special Forces mission politically impossible for Trump to authorize. Think about it. Every American operator captured during a uranium recovery mission becomes a Tehran television hostage broadcast. Every helicopter shot down by Iranian air defenses becomes a Black Hawk Down headline that dominates 72-hour news cycles. Every dead Special Forces soldier becomes a name read on the Senate floor while gas prices hit $5.40 a gallon. A number Americans feel every time they fill up. Trump built his entire 2024 campaign on a single phrase: no new wars. He attacked Joe Biden for the Afghanistan withdrawal. He mocked the entire Bush-era neoconservative foreign policy establishment as failed warmongers. And now, under his watch, Pete Hegseth is testifying about a $25 billion war that has run 50% over its promised timeline, with special forces deployment now openly being considered. The Democratic Party, despite Erica Kirk's criticisms about their rhetoric on the war, doesn't even need to campaign for the 2026 midterms. The casualty footage and gas pump receipts will do it for them. CNN, which Trump has personally attacked dozens of times, calling its anchors hostile names on live television, is going to run every single dead operator story, every Pentagon overrun headline, every Iranian propaganda video on a continuous loop from now until November 3rd. And when those midterm elections come, the Morning Glory column at Fox News warned this morning that Republicans face a predicted midterm wipeout in House and Senate races if the Iran war isn't decisively won. Iran knows this. That's the real strategy. Not to defeat U.S. Special Forces in combat, but to make their deployment politically catastrophic at home. According to military analysts at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, defense correspondents at Fox News, and former Pentagon planners speaking on the record, the Special Forces option carries the highest risk-reward profile of any operation in 20 years. There are scenarios in which a 72-hour insertion at Fordow recovers the uranium stockpile cleanly before Iran can mobilize a response. There are also scenarios in which the operation collapses into a 1980 Operation Eagle Claw catastrophe. Burning helicopters in the desert, captured operators in Tehran, and a presidency irreversibly broken by hostage video. The honest answer is, nobody knows. And I mean that literally. Every think tank, every Pentagon war game cell, every intelligence agency is operating on outdated assumptions right now. The Wall Street Journal published an analysis Monday warning that Iran's command structure has fragmented to the point that no single negotiator can deliver a binding agreement, meaning even a successful mission may not produce a stable end state. But here's the critical point. Whatever comes after this Friday's war powers deadline is going to be more dangerous, more unilateral, and more constitutionally contested than anything in the post-Iraq era. There are already emerging reports, according to Brian Lannis's Tel Aviv reporting, that Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders have been authorized to act independently if any American operator crosses Iranian soil. Kurdish separatist groups inside Iran are reportedly mobilizing in coordination with Israeli intelligence cells. Meanwhile, an unnamed senior Iranian commander just told state television, and I quote, "Every American boot on Iranian soil will be returned in a body bag." We don't know what that means operationally. Could be sustained ambush operations across Fordow's surrounding terrain. Could be a chemical weapons response Iran has never publicly admitted to possessing. Could be something nobody at Brookings, Rand, or Langley has even modeled yet. Because when a regime decides it has nothing left to lose, when it fights not for victory but for sacred legacy, every red line disappears. Every calculation goes out the window, and every prediction becomes worthless. We are witnessing something that will reshape American military doctrine, the global energy market, and the constitutional balance between executive war powers and congressional authority for a generation. And we're only 87 days into a war the Pentagon promised would be over by now. I'm going to keep covering this as it develops, pulling from American, Israeli, and regional Gulf sources, because no single outlet is giving you the full picture of what a Special Forces mission into Fordow actually requires. If you want to stay informed without the corporate spin, subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll be back with an updated analysis the moment Friday's war powers deadline triggers. And based on what just came out of Tel Aviv, that's going to be sooner and bigger than anyone expects. Stay safe out there. I'll see you in the next one.